Hey guys, this is Titan Tom 32 for AdvancedPokerTraining.com. This is going to be my first video. I'm going to be trying to get into a series of tournament videos also, as I'm more known for my tournament play more than my cash game play, but I do know a fair bit about deep stack play and cash game play, so I'm going to give you a little video here on the Pocket Jacks challenge. The way I play Pocket Jacks, or the way that I think is good to play Jacks, is just to constantly be thinking about future action and especially your opponents. I think it's really important to know who you're playing against when you play this hand. A lot of people say that Pocket Jacks is a trouble hand for them, or that they hate playing Jacks because they always get in spots where they're against aces, or they're getting in a flip against ace king and losing. So I'm going to try to show you guys how to avoid hating Pocket Jacks, because I actually like Pocket Jacks. Most people don't. I think it's good. You're going to see in this video that there's going to be lots of times where you should be, especially with 100 big blind stacks, playing it slower, instead of just re-raising pre-flop and getting the money in all in pre-flop, because yes, it is a good hand and 3 hands have you beat, but oftentimes there's a more plus EV or expected value, if you're not familiar with that term. There's a more plus EV way to play the hand, and that's going to center around the idea of not only is your equity not going to be as bad when you get it all in pre-flop, because a lot of times, people's opening range is going to consist of 30% of hands or 20% of hands, where, where Jacks is going to have, 60 to 70% equity against that opening range. Whereas if you do get it in pre-flop versus certain opponents, you might never get it in pre-flop with the best hand. So your equity might be 20%. Versus other opponents, you might be able to get it in against a range of, ace king and ace queen and maybe 10s and 9s and 8s or something like that, which in that case your equity is still only going to be, maybe 55% or so. You guys can check the math on that, but so what I'm trying to say is, by flat calling Jacks in certain situations, our expected value and our equity in the hand is going to remain fairly high. And also we'll be able to get away much cheaper if we do run into some bigger hands. So the important thing to remember is that we're just thinking about playing the hand long term instead of short term. Just because you just flat call with Jacks and someone flopped a set with a lower pair against you on that hand doesn't necessarily mean that you played it incorrectly, especially if your opponent is gonna not give you credit for having a strong hand pre-flop and tend to either try to bluff you off your hand or, pay you off in a spot where they probably shouldn't have. So in this video, you're going to see me take some lines with Jacks a little bit slower, and then also I'm going to talk about some spots where you should be re-raising with Jacks, not necessarily always trying to get the money in pre-flop, but it can be fine against certain opponents, but more like I just talked about, to make a loose opponent call with a worse hand. A lot of times if you're re-raising with Jacks, if you're doing it against the wrong opponent, it might force that opponent to fold too many hands. Certain other opponents may always call your 3-bet, because they either won't give you credit or that's just their style of play. So you can get more money in that way by re-raising. Against certain other opponents, though, you're going to want to just flat call more often, because they're going to be folding too much, and if you do get all the money in pre-flop against them, you're not going to be in great shape, or, they're capable of 4-bet bluffing you, and then putting you in a difficult spot where you're not really going to know what to do. So that's also a spot we want to avoid. So without further ado, let's just jump right into me playing the hands, and you guys can go over to my Pocket Jacks briefing.